Antman and the Wasp: Quantumania. Now, this is the latest, the 30-something. I think we're now into the 30s in the number of Marvel Cinematic Universe movies. I think this is actually the 31st movie in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And this is the third Ant-Man movie, and quite frankly, if you're not with the Marvel Cinematic Universe at this point, you probably never are going to be, and you probably really don't care. But they have all these things where you have the one big franchise, which is the MCU. Then within that, you have tiny little franchises, and so Ant-Man is his own franchise. And this kicks off where you meet Ant-Man, Scott Lang, in the aftermath of everything that happened in Endgame. And he has written a book about what he's done, and the fact that he's like, yes, I was Ant-Man, I was an Avenger, I helped save the world because of me, that's why you're all here, and all that kind of, and he has like a book deal, and he's a bit of a celebrity, and he starts off with this whole thing about how life is good, and there's this montage of how life is good for him and all that. But then you have his daughter, sorry, were you going to say something, Sean?
No. Sorry, I'm just eating a corn crisp because I haven't had any dinner yet.
Yeah, you have his daughter Cassie, who is now played by Catherine Newton. She has been recast, I think, three, maybe four times in all the Ant-Man movies. She's now played by Catherine Newton, and she is more of an activist, a little bit like if you remember when we first met Scott Lang in the first Ant-Man movie, how he was an activist, how he couldn't get a job because he'd done something to stick something to a big corporation, and she's now going along and railing against the 1%. And there's this whole thing at the beginning of the film where they're talking about the fact that he's given up as a hero and he isn't actually doing anything to help anybody. He's just helping himself. And he's like, yeah, boy, save the world. And they're like, yeah, but what have you done lately? And you can see that there's this sort of family that has built up with the original Ant-Man, Hank Pym, his wife, Jennifer Van Dyne, their daughter, Hope Van Dyne, who is in a relationship with Scott Lang and Scott Lang's. So there's this sort of like little family dynamic. They have this sort of little ant family going on. And it turns out that his daughter Cassie is beginning to get into science and has been tinkering some stuff that Hank Pym has been helping her with. And Ant-Man has always been worried about the quantum realm, which is where Jennifer Van Dyne was trapped for a while. And she doesn't tell anybody about what happened when she was in the quantum realm. She refuses to talk about it. And so they build this thing to send a signal to the quantum realm. She's like, what? You're sending a signal to the quantum realm? Turn it off! Turn it off! But something happens. They send a signal to the quantum realm. Something sends a signal back, and then they all get sucked into the quantum realm. And that's where the film goes on. So the whole film is set in this quantum realm, which is tiny. It is subatomic. And you go in there, and it is weird. And that's the main thing about the quantum realm is that it is weird. And this is where I think the film this is one of the things I love about this film. I love about this film that it totally embraces the fact that the quantum realm is weird, and it uses the fact that the quantum realm is weird to do this, or to do all this stuff that they probably wouldn't be able to get away with otherwise. For instance, there is a character in Marvel who is, for many people, saying he's one of the dumbest characters in all of Marvel's history. One of the dumbest characters in all of Marvel's history. But he is extremely popular, and people have been saying, when is this guy going to show up in the film? When's this guy going to show up in the film? And the quantum realm is probably about the only place they could have brought this character in. And they totally lean into that. They lean into that. They bring this character in. The way they even bring him into the story to make it make sense with the Ant-Man thing, I actually quite liked. I thought it was funny, and I was very, very much prepared to have a conversation with you guys as to whether Marvel has had its day and whether Marvel has started running out of steam. And I really enjoyed this. I was sitting down there waiting for the moment where there was going to, there's, I think in some of the recent films, like Thor, Love and Thunder, had this moment. Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness had this moment where you're watching the film and there's a moment where you just kind of go, oh no. Oh, I think this might be going bad from this point on.
Toes, I do think there is one thing in this, which I found, I think it was in the one where the Vision gets stabbed. I can't remember what that was. Whether it was
that was in Endgame. That was Infinity
Endgame.
War. Infinity War, yeah.
So Infinity War. So to me, there was. I just had the. I'm with you on this. I mean, I did enjoy it, but I just thought it was inconsistent with the power of some person that was earlier in the movie. It's like, well, if you've got those powers, you know what I mean? It's like,
yeah.
So you've got this super powerful being that suddenly becomes not quite so super powerful, you know? Did you understand what I mean?
I understand what you mean. There are a couple of bits. Where, one of the things that gets me is that, okay, so Ant-Man's power is to go big or small. And then when you go into the quantum realm, does that power still mean anything? Because now you're now smaller than you've ever been before, and this is this is the thing where why I really like this film. I enjoy this film. I was carried all the way through to the end of this film without having anything where I thought, okay, now I'm out of it. Now I'm out of it. There were minor quibbles, but and I think so. At the moment, Everything Everywhere All at Once, that's being talked about for Oscars and everything like that. And that's because that film is untethered. It is untethered in almost every single sense of the word. It's just unhinged. And you had Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, which did something similar to Everything Everywhere All at Once, but it had to keep coming back to this Marvel thing. It had to keep coming back to this, and it couldn't go too crazy because you know that there's this bigger story that they still have to sort of link to. And in Antman and the Wasp, you can still, in Quantumania, you can feel bits where it's trying to go all crazy and trying to go all gonzo. And, they give you, okay, cool, look at this. We're going to give you this guy that everybody has to drink. There's a guy who everybody drinks, quite frankly. There's a guy with a broccoli head. There's a guy who has a laser for a face. And they give you all this crazy stuff. But you can almost feel it pulling back and going, but, we still have to make this make sense because we still have to link this. And there's going to be this bad guy called Kang. And he's going to be the new Thanos. And he's going to come in other films. So we're going to have to pull it back a little bit because we're going to give you this story, but the story kind of isn't really going to go anywhere because there's a whole bunch of other pieces that we're not ready to activate yet, and these guys have to stay in this spot until we're ready to activate this thing that's going to happen in 7 movies time. And I think that is the problem I had because I thought I was enjoying it. I was enjoying the Flights of Fancies. There's a bit that has a million Scots and a million hopes. I was enjoying all these little bits, but you could feel it pulling back because it was like, oh wait, no, we can't do that yet. Oh no, we can't do that with Kang yet because we still got to do this, and so you can feel, and I feel that the overarching Marvel story between all these different films might be holding back the individual films because in the individual films you can't do whatever you want. You can't chase all the questions you want because the quantum realm, there's so much stuff in the quantum realm that I've finished this thinking I would not mind seeing a quantum realm TV show because there's so much in there. There's so much.
Yeah, I can relate to that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to go, I think, Toes, because I'm really it's starting to come up low battery now.
Okay, cool. So, but Sean, quickly before you go, how many stars would you give it?
I'll give this one a 3-star. 3-star for me. I look forward to what the other guys say. So I'll give this one a 3 for me, but I'm gonna go because I might need the phone and I've only got about 7%. So
all right.
I'll see you guys later. Love you.
See ya. Bye. Okay, but Holly, enough from me. What did you think?
I very much enjoyed it. But my enjoyment sits within the framework of enjoyed it and it's an Ant-Man film.
Yep.
So they are less, I'm going to say that I use this grudgingly, less cerebral. Not that I could really describe any Marvel films as cerebral per se.
Oh, I don't know, Civil War. The Captain American ones, yeah.
Yeah, that is true. And actually there are, I'm going to give touches of Black Widow have moments of being reasonably cerebral.
Yeah, true.
All sorts of, moral and ethical questions in there. So I really enjoyed it. I very much walked out thinking this is a solid 4 out of 5, but it is a 4 out of 5 for an Ant-Man film. And I've not seen a 5 out of 5 Ant-Man film. So I always find them a little bit silly, and bits of it I always find a little bit irritating, and I can't quite put my finger on why.
Yep.
But there's just something that always very, very, very slightly grates, but still makes me laugh. So
I can see that. I can really, really see that. With that, I mean, I think Jonathan Majors, who plays Kang, who is going to be the new big bad in the MCU, I thought he was actually terrifying. I thought as a bad guy, he is genuinely terrifying. He just has this thing about him, and there's this stillness about him, and there's this there's a line he says. There's a line he says to Ant-Man where he goes, and it's almost like a throwaway line. He just goes, "You're lucky I need you," and in that one line and the way he says it, you're kind of like, "Whoa, this dude is not messing about."
Yeah, and I think you're right. I haven't thought of it. It's the stillness.
Yeah. It was just this stillness where he just knows that he can destroy everybody around him at any time. He knows he can destroy everybody. I think that there's bits about it where I feel like the the inventiveness of it and the inventiveness of the quantum realm does go away a bit. Like I'm thinking, I love the fact that you have all these different creatures. They're not even aliens; they're just sort of creatures because and they try not to just do guy with something on his face, but they still have some people in this quantum realm who just look like people, and it's kind of like. That's why. So the quantum realm makes me want to explore it. It makes me want to explore it more. But I think that the performances are good. They all work. Although, I've heard criticism of the Antman movies that they don't give Hope Van Dyne, who's played by Evangeline Lilly, anything to do. And in this film, I was like, oh my God, they've done it again. She has she has nothing to do. This film is a lot more about Michelle Pfeiffer than it is about yeah.
And Michelle Pfeiffer was clearly enjoying herself.
Oh yeah.
I thought that really came across as if she was having fun.
Yeah, I think I think the performances really work, and by this time the characters, they are a bit fleshed out, quite frankly, and so this film is almost kind of like it's like the Avengers if everybody had Ant-Man's powers, kind of thing, a bit like that.
Yeah.
Where the Ant family is growing and all, but I really liked it. I was surprised. And you know, when you were talking about it being like because I was sitting down there going, okay, this is good, this is solid, this is 3, this is a good 3-star film. I left from going, okay, it's a 3-star film, but I was like, no, that was really fun. That was a really fun film, and so for me, I've got to go over to a 4 because I think it's really fun. It gives me hope for the Marvel universe going forward. However, I have to keep reiterating anytime we talk about anything Marvel, because the big thing in Marvel is the multiverse. That's the multiverse. They have come out now. They're not sort of dancing around it. It's the multiverse. I mean, the whole thing that we're going towards a multiversal war where you're going to have all these different factions fighting against each other. And I think it's going to destroy the MCU. I hate the multiverse. I think it leads to lazy storytelling. I think Marvel are spinning too many plates, because I think that beforehand it used to be that they would be making a film and that film had all of their attention. And I feel like the attention to detail and the attention to quality is being diluted across too many projects. So each one of them doesn't quite hit the same way it is. And I think that the overarching story that all these things need to sit within, because they all need to sit within this story and they need to sort of link back to this bigger story of this place where we're going, is hampering individual stories that could have been great. Because if there's quite a few ways that I was looking at, I was going, oh, you know what? If they finish the film this way, that would be good. Oh, if they finish the film this way, that would be good. If this character ended up in that place, that would be interesting. And there were so many avenues where you could see something interesting that could happen. But at the same time, you know they can't do it because there's stuff coming along in 6-7 films for time that they have to link into. And so I thought that they did a good balancing act between giving you something new, something crazy, something inventive, and also sticking to a template which they have to stick to because they're going to have to give you the Kang Dynasty in God knows how many films time. I thought they did a good job, but at the same time, I'm in mourning for all the paths that were not taken.
Can I ask a question as someone who hasn't seen it?
Yes.
I'm not sure if it will get there because I'm a bit sporadic. I did try to watch most of the Marvel output, but yes. I've just almost given up basically on any of the television ones, any of the Disney Plus ones, because I've got so far behind that it'll be impossible for me. I have to go back to things like Loki, which I haven't, I've got long to catch up on.
Yeah.
So how much, but there's moderns, but with this sort of next phase of Marvel, how much prior knowledge do you need? I mean, is it because I know with some of the films, you almost needed to see nearly all of them for the pieces to fit together, whereas this one's where I've started to miss more than I've seen in the last couple of years.
I think having seen that, you certainly would have wanted to see the last Ant-Man the Wasp, and I think it helps. I think it gives it.
It does. Okay, yeah.
Actually, but I haven't seen all of the Marvel films. Like I haven't seen Wakanda Forever, and there's the last couple of films I have missed out on. So I'm not sure if it's how much of the strings they're pulling together yet, or whether it's still sort of far enough apart that you can start.
I think
it can still pick up on the next arc.
I think you can pick up on this film. I think this film is pretty much. It's very close to standalone. So I think if you've seen the Ant-Man movies and Endgame, I think you're good.
Yeah, and I think even without Endgame, you would. No, I think you probably do need Endgame.
I think you need Endgame to understand why Ant-Man is. Everyone is thinking Ant-Man is this amazing hero guy. So so I think the Ant-Man movies and Endgame, low-key season 1 would help a bit, but not much. You can still understand this without. Let me just put it this way: this is the second time we have seen Kang on screen. So, and I think Kang is going to. There's
Where
a film
was he
coming.
before? What was he in before?
Oh, that would be telling.
Oh, I see. Because I was going to say, when you said Kang, I'm thinking, am I supposed to know who that is?
Some people will not know who he is, but he is the new Thanos. Essentially, he's the new Thanos.
Okay.
Has a totally different thing to that. But with the whole multiverse thing, I think we're going to see more versions of Kang show up before there's a film called the next Avengers movie is called Avengers: The Kang's Dynasty. And there's going to be quite a few Kangs that we're going to see and a few inflections of Kang before that film comes. But anyway, I would have given it 4. I think, Holly, you said 4 as well.
Yep.
Sean said a 3. We're going to put that together. But I would say I really enjoyed this, and it made me think, okay, maybe Marvel can pull this back, because we're now officially in phase 5. Phase 4 was a bit hit and miss, but this is good.